The Nexari Confederation had been locked in combat with the Vorthak Empire for exactly 1,047 standard galactic cycles. Fleet Admiral Zexthal watched from the bridge of the dreadnought Eternal Vigilance as another wave of plasma torpedoes streaked across the void toward the enemy formation. The war had consumed entire star systems, reduced proud civilizations to ash, and turned the galaxy's spiral arms into graveyards of twisted metal and cooling plasma. Neither side remembered what had started the conflict anymore. Some claimed it was over mining rights in the Kepler Nebula. Others insisted it began with a diplomatic insult at a trade summit. The truth had been buried beneath a millennium of mutual annihilation, leaving only the momentum of hatred to drive both fleets forward into another day of slaughter. "Admiral," chirped his tactical officer, a young Nexari whose carapace still bore the bright green of inexperience. "Long-range sensors are detecting an anomaly in Grid 77 Alpha." Zexthal's 4 compound eyes swiveled toward the display. In the midst of the battle zone, where the twisted wreckage of 1,000 engagements drifted like metallic snow, something new had appeared. The sensor readings made no sense. The signatures were unlike anything in the Confederation's extensive databases. "Magnify," he ordered. The main screen flickered, revealing a sight that made every being on the bridge fall silent. Ships hung in the void, but not ships like either side had ever constructed. They were smaller than the massive dreadnoughts that dominated galactic warfare, yet they moved with a fluid grace that defied conventional engine technology. Their hulls gleamed with an odd silvery metal that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously. More disturbing still was their formation. While Nexari ships maintained rigid geometric patterns and Vorthak vessels swarmed in chaotic clouds, these newcomers arranged themselves in something resembling art, flowing curves and spirals that somehow managed to provide optimal firing solutions while looking almost beautiful. "Unknown vessels. You are entering an active combat zone," Zexthal transmitted on all frequencies. "Identify yourselves immediately or be fired upon." The response came in perfect Nexari standard, though the accent was unlike anything in the linguistic databases. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Republic Navy. We've been monitoring your conflict for some time now, and we've decided it's gone on long enough." A chill ran through Zexthal's exoskeleton. In over 40 years of military service, he had never heard such casual confidence in a war zone. "Unknown Terrans, you will withdraw immediately. This conflict does not concern your species." "Actually," came the reply, tinged with what sounded almost like amusement, "it concerns us quite a bit. See, we've been developing faster-than-light communication while you've been shooting each other, and we've been listening to the distress calls from refugee ships, mining colonies, and civilian transports for the past 50 years. We've heard the pleas for help from families separated by your war zones, the cries from children who've never known peace." On the far side of the battlefield, the Vorthak fleet had also noticed the newcomers. Admiral Krextel of the Empire's 4th Assault Legion transmitted his own challenge. "Unidentified vessels, withdraw or face the fury of the Empire. We have been at war for 1,000 years. Your primitive ships are no match for our battle-tested fleets." The human response was broadcast to both fleets simultaneously. "Primitive? Let me show you something interesting about human military doctrine." What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come, assuming any academies survived what was about to unfold. The human ships didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, they released what appeared to be small, dark spheres that drifted lazily toward both fleets. Zexthal's tactical officer reported no energy signatures, no propulsion systems, no threat indicators whatsoever. "Defensive positions," Zexthal ordered, but it was too late. The spheres suddenly accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed, passing through both fleets' shields as if they didn't exist. Instead of impacting the hull plating, they seemed to simply phase through the armor and disappear inside the ships. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, every weapon system in both fleets went dark. "Status report," Zexthal demanded. "Sir, all plasma cannons are offline. Torpedo tubes are non-responsive. Even our point defense systems have shut down. Life support and engines are unaffected, but we're completely disarmed." The same reports flooded in from across both fleets. 1,000 years of military superiority, reduced to helplessness in minutes by an unknown species that had apparently been watching from the sidelines. Admiral Chen's voice filled the communications channels of every ship in both fleets. Gentlemen, ladies, and various other classifications of sentient beings, let me explain something about humans. We've spent our entire history fighting each other, over resources, territory, ideology, and sometimes just because we were bored on a Tuesday. We've gotten very, very good at war. The human fleet began moving through the paralyzed formations with surgical precision, positioning themselves to control all escape routes. But we've also learned something that apparently escaped your civilizations: when to stop fighting. We've discovered that some conflicts need external intervention, so here's what's going to happen. You're going to establish a ceasefire immediately. You're going to enter negotiations for a permanent peace treaty, and if you refuse, the space around several derelict warships suddenly erupted in controlled fusion detonations, vaporizing the hulks completely while leaving nearby active vessels untouched. We'll show you what 1,000 years of human warfare innovation looks like when we're not holding back. Admiral Zexthul looked around his bridge at his officers' stunned faces. In the tactical display, similar expressions of shock were visible on Vorthak ships as their crews grappled with the same impossible situation. For the first time in a millennium, the galaxy was truly quiet, not because the war had ended, but because a species that nobody had invited to the party had just demonstrated that they had been capable of ending it whenever they chose. And they had chosen now.